Hi, welcome to Andrew Gamero Coaching and NoPainAllGain.ca. Today, I want to share some tips for the flu. So here are some tips that we learned about curing the flu from home. And we learned this recently when my daughter got sick, and she never gets sick, so we were quite surprised. First, she reported vertigo, and then it was nausea, and it went downhill from there. So we panicked a bit, but we did find a way to get her through this bout of the flu. In Canada, the medical system still hasn't recovered from the policies that really damaged our system in the last few years. So our doctor's office still, if you've got the flu or showing any symptoms of cold or flu, you're not allowed to go in and see your doctor. And our local emergency room, it serves a huge demographical area in southern Alberta and Saskatchewan. So the wait times can be up to 4 hours long. So when you're with teenager, that can't even keep food down the minute she sits up, sitting for 4 hours in an emergency room, waiting room with other sick people, really not an option. So we knew immediately that we needed to find a way to get her healthy as soon as possible. And this is how we did it. So since you can last 3 weeks without food, but only about 3 days without water, we knew that keeping her hydrated was essential to getting her healthy again. And we don't use pharmaceuticals ever since we found out what actually goes into them. And we try to go as natural as possible. But when you've got a child that is really sick, and this hasn't happened in a long time, you tend to panic, and that's what we did. So we ran to our local London Drugs to get Gravol and Gatorade. Now the Gravol we purchased, even though it was natural and it was the ginger source, mostly ginger in it, it was still one that she had to actually swallow, which was a problem because at this point, she was no longer able to even swallow fluids without throwing them back up again. So if you have a pill that you have to take to swallow, that's going to come up pretty much right away. You don't know exactly how much, if any, of that product actually got into your system to help you out. And that's a problem because we certainly don't want to overdose her with things that could make her worse. So when we realized that this wasn't going to work, we started thinking about things that could go under the tongue. Because when you put things under your tongue, they absorb into your body faster, and therefore you don't have anything that's going to irritate your stomach that it's going to want to throw up again. And that's really important. You don't want to be putting anything on the stomach that's going to make it want to purge itself. Because once that gets started, your diaphragm can get overworked, and then it just keeps throwing up, even though there may not even be anything in there to throw up. So drinking fluids was still a major problem for her as well. So she asked for ice cubes, and what a brilliant idea. Even sick, she comes up with great ideas. So we went and we started with the ice cube, and by putting the ice cube under her tongue, just even having it in her mouth, the water was able to, absorb through her mouth, the linings in her mouth, and as it was melting, it was going down her throat into her body, and it was going in such small amounts that her stomach wasn't getting irritated by it. So when the first ice cube or two was a success, I just decided I was going to be freezing everything. So that meant I had different silicone trays that were a lot smaller than your regular ice cube size. So I filled those with Gatorade, with ginger tea, and water. So I had 3 different kinds, and then she would alternate between those 3, and that's how we were able to keep her fluids down. Now the ginger tea ended up being a little bit too strong for her stomach, so even the ice cubes for the ginger tea was too much. So we would go between just regular ice cubes and the Gatorade, and that helped her get a little bit of sugar in there, and the electrolytes that she needed to keep replacing, because when you're throwing up, You're going to be getting rid of a lot of the salts and things that your body needs in order to make the water actually absorb and be helpful for your cells. So that is how we were able to keep her going. But even for a while, that was with the water not wanting to stay down, we knew we had to get something else to try to keep the stomach to settle down. And so we went off to Nutter's, which is our local health food store, and we got homeopathic pills that are called Nux vomica. And they stop the urge to want to throw up. They settle your stomach. And again, those go under the tongue as well, and that helps them to absorb into the body without worrying about them irritating your stomach. And that really did the trick for her to stop, for her stomach to automatically want to throw up everything that reached it. And the other great thing about them was they did make her very sleepy. And sleep is the best thing that your body can have when it is sick and ill, because it's when you're asleep that your body starts to be able to repair and heal itself. So she would sleep and she'd wake up. We'd give her some more ice cubes. She'd go between a couple of them, take a few more of the Nux vomica pills, fall back to sleep. And this is how we managed. So after the second day, I was testing her skin to make sure she wasn't dehydrated, which she wasn't, which was super, super important. If she was getting dehydrated, it would have been immediately going to the hospital. But between the ice cubes, the Nux vomica, we were able to keep her going. And by about the third day without food, she started to turn around a bit. And the vomiting had stopped completely. She'd gone actually 24 hours without throwing up or even feeling the urge to throw up. So that's when we knew it was time to start reintroducing foods. So we started with things that were very, very light. Basically chicken broth. Started with that to see if that fluids, because the chicken broth, it has a bit of salt, it has some minerals and some vitamins and stuff in there from the different spices that you use, and that went down and stayed down quite well. We also made a rice pudding that I blended, and that stayed down. That was a really good sign. And so then I went and made a full-on chicken soup. Now for her, she still wasn't allowed to have the meat that was in the chicken soup, but she could have the broth and some of the vegetables from that. And that one stayed down that evening, so we knew we were on our way out of that whole horrible experience. And the next morning we made something that my mom used to make for us, which was cinnamon toast or milk toast. And so you just toast some bread, put it in milk, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of cinnamon to give it some flavor, and the milk absorbs all the toast, so it's really, really mushy. She had that the next day, and that stayed down. We also did frozen grapes. Once we realized that she could manage just the chicken broth and the rice stayed down, we tried frozen grapes, which is something that was recommended to me when I was actually pregnant with her. To be eating once the beginning stages of birth were happening. So when the cramps started and that, they said, eat frozen grapes because it's a lot of fluid. It'll make you feel like you're eating something, but it's not going to be too heavy to be eating. And so at that point, we knew we had got her on the right track. She was feeling a lot better. She was able to sit up without getting nauseous. And we were able to get her out of that system. It took about 5 days total before she was able to actually start eating food again, and we introduced things slowly. Eventually she was able to have, by I think day 5, day 6, she was actually able to have the chicken soup with actual pieces of chicken meat in it. But we kept it slow and steady, but she did come around. So it's totally possible to come out of the flu. You don't have to run to the hospital in fear that you're going to die. You can get through it naturally and at home, as long as you take things in steps. Don't allow yourself to get hydrated, and only introduce foods when your body's ready to accept them, because otherwise it's pointless. You're going to start puking again, and everybody knows that the puking is not a fun thing to be doing. So just take it slow, introduce these things, and you will be able to get through to the other side. You can help yourself, help your friends. Do it naturally and at home. You just need to be careful with a lot of the over-the-counter stuff these days, just because a lot of them have side effects, and then you end up having to go and grab something else. And so if you can do it naturally with things that don't have side effects, let your body heal itself. It's even better for your immune system, because when your body has to fight off a virus or a germ, then the next time, or bacteria, the next time it experiences that same strain or that same one, it is already ready to fight it off because it's done it once before and it now has the antibodies it needs. So I hope you find this helpful. I thank you so much for joining us this week, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now. Did you know that one-on-one coaching is a great way to get through the little mental thoughts and processes that are holding you back from being all that you can be? Well, that's what I do. I help people to see life through a different perspective, a different lens, so that they can truly see themselves the way others see them and the way God sees them. And when they are able to get the tools they need to fight through their anxiety, their depression, or even just those relentless thoughts of not being good enough, they all of a sudden break through to the other side and are able to do things that they never thought they would ever accomplish. So if this sounds like something you may need in your life, feel free to contact me at andrea@nopainallgain.ca, and we can set up a time to chat for a free consultation to see if working together would be a good fit. After that, we can set up some times, and I would love to help you break through to the other side of those things that are holding you back. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.